I grew up in environments in which harm was normalized. We fled Liberia in 1980, 3 days before the military coup took place, and all of my family and friends that couldn't get out were all murdered. Now, you may think that after an experience like that, you may want to move to a nice, leafy, sunny suburb somewhere, but oh no, my family chose to go to Northern Ireland during the terrorist height of the Troubles. Fear and terror were commonplace. What I learned in those moments, even as a 7-year-old, and I didn't have words for it, was simply that human suffering isn't always inevitable. In actual fact, human suffering sometimes is a result, is a creation, and it persists because we tolerate it. Now, there are gifts from these incredible environments I grew up in, and the two gifts are hypervigilance, to understand how places work. And the second gift is a complete intolerance for unnecessary human suffering. So I looked at healthcare and I thought, oh, I found my home. This is great. Do no harm at its very core. Professionals dedicated to healing and patient safety. Systems, protocols, and I love rules, and I thought, this is great. That perception lasted less than 1 year. Johns Hopkins published research, which is quite famous, that basically showed that the healthcare environment is one of the most dangerous environments that we can ever enter. It is the third leading cause of death in the United States, not from the care you go for the disease you have, but rather the environment itself. So a system that's actually designed to protect sometimes harms us. I went digging. What's going on here? Well, I found a list of what are referred to as never events, and you can think about them as amputating the wrong limb, never event. Leaving behind surgical equipment post-surgery, never event. And on that list was a condition that's actually accountable for 50% more deaths in this country than car accidents. And yet, we don't talk about them in the same way. In actual fact, the name itself reduces the significance. They're called bedsores, otherwise known as pressure injuries or pressure ulcers. They affect dark skin tone patients in a way that kills them at a rate 4 times more than any other cohort. So they're far more common than simply people who are in wheelchairs, spinal cord injured patients, who live in fear of them, no doubt. But they go all the way through to preemies in the NICU, all the way right up to end-of-life patients. And in fact, if you or your loved ones are going for a surgery of 3 hours or more, you are 80% likely to develop one of these. The diagnostic standard, the way that we think about detecting them, is by touching and looking for skin redness. It has the accuracy of a coin toss. And let me just share with you that again. It has the accuracy of a coin toss. If this were a cancer that had that kind of injury rate and mortality rate, do you think there might be marathons run about this stuff? Do you think there might be congressional hearings? Do you think people might be tipping ice buckets all over their heads, raising awareness for it? And yet none of those things happen. Now, a few years ago, I saw a picture on the internet of a cat, actually. And it was a perfect image for this, and actually it inspired this talk. Because in this picture, this cat was in a box. Think about the one that gets taken to the vet in. And the cat, being a cat, was very diligent and trying to get out, shoulders haunched up, focused on the end where the cage door was. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. That's wound care. On the one side, you have a wall of the box that is government policy. It's the incentives, the disincentives, the carrots, the sticks, the way that we go about managing the overall population. And believe me, governments all over the world are pulling their hair out trying to figure out what to do to fix this. They see the charts going that way in the wrong direction. It is the only patient safety event to get worse. The other side of the box are managers of hospitals and nursing homes. And those are the people who help write the protocols and the policies. They get pressure from governments, they hire the nurses, and then they try to enforce those policies. And when stuff goes wrong, they discharge the patient as efficiently and quickly as they possibly can and safely, and then deal with the penalties. And what do? They turn around to the nurses and say, do more, fix it. And then you have the nurses dealing with the patients. And when we go to visit the nurses, what happens is they often turn around to us and say, but we're doing everything we can. And in actual fact, they're right. Those tools in that box with that detection method, they are 100% correct. Now, what made the picture perfect wasn't the cat. It was the fact the picture of the cat in the box had no top. It was perfect. About 15 years ago, I really started studying this hard. What's preventing the prevention of the thing that's getting worse all over the world? Why do things go wrong? And what do we actually need to do about it? And I asked myself a question, not what more can we do, but rather what can we do with this to fix it? In 2012, I saw a picture in a magazine of a prototype medical device that was invented actually here on this campus by 3 professors. Bates Jensen in the nursing school, Kaiser in the engineering school, and Sarafseda in the computer science school. And what they had done was take a clinical idea, which is that bed sores or pressure injuries develop from the inside out. You can't see them, they're microscopic changes until they break the skin surface. And when they break the skin surface, they go all the way down to the bone sticks out, and you end up risking sepsis, hence the deaths. But their idea was, hang on, there are things going on underneath the skin surface. What are they? Well, there's inflammation. We know that. Inflammation triggers this nice, beautiful, healing sort of soup to flood to the area that's being damaged and then tries to heal that area. Well, you can't see it, but what if you could measure it? Because if you could measure it, you could give nurses at the bedside information that up until now they've never had. And then you give the nurses the thing that they are able to do better than anybody else, information they can use to treat. Nurses are wonderful at treatment. They developed a sensor-based device, and they used sensors from aerospace that was applied to the human body. And what they saw, and subsequent data has also shown this even more, is that that process of edema flooding the area comes before a wound develops on the skin surface, and it tells you that the wound is coming. So now what you have is before the nurse looking at the skin surface, not being able to see anything, moving on. The patient's skin breaks, they get blamed, and then the patient goes on their many months long journey to be healed. Now though, what happens? Same patient, same heal, same nurse, but this device is saying, you've got a problem under the skin surface, treat it. They treat it, the skin stays intact, and the patient gets discharged. Same nurse, same patient, different information. The most proud moment of the use of this technology was actually at a group of facilities in the United Kingdom that actually deals with end-of-life patients. And you can think about these patients as being in their last 100 days of living. Typically, they are written off. They're just going to develop a pressure injury. Why? Well, because their skin's failing and their internal organs are failing. They're just going to develop them. But I met a nurse, Gillian, who changed me forever. What Gillian said was, my patients have lived well, Martin, and I want them to die well, and dying with a pressure ulcer doesn't qualify. To me, that was human dignity, and it snapped me out of a phase of, well, maybe they're just going to get these. Her team used the technology, and in year 1, they reduced the incidence of broken skin ulcers on end-of-life patients by 42%. In year 2, 72%. And in year 3, 100%. They're not the only ones. The Veterans Administration, University of Maryland, University of Illinois in Chicago, expert hospitals and nursing homes all over this country and all over the rest of the world are now going to scientific conferences, holding up gold cups on their scientific posters, saying, we managed to get results we've never managed to get before. And we're doing it with less work. They're reporting 93% reduction in the incidence of broken skin ulcers in their facilities, some up to 100%. Not so fast in terms of, I don't want you to get away from this thinking, well, problem solved. What's this guy doing standing up here in front of me? Well, the answer is actually that innovation in healthcare takes about 17 years to go from the point of that research to being standard of care. In that time, we will lose over 1 million patients unnecessarily. But we've seen this movie play out before. In 1988, 89, 90, in those years, prior to those years, anesthesiologists in operating theaters used to look for blue nail beds and purple lips to determine whether their patients had low blood oxygen. Then technology came along, and what that technology did was it said to the anesthesiologist, that patient has low blood oxygen, give them forced oxygen. Complications plummeted. And now you would never go into a care facility and not expect to have your blood oxygen being measured. Now look, we're building a safer world today. And a safer world means that when something goes wrong at the bedside, the first thing that we don't do is blame the nurse, but rather we ask the question, were they given the right tools and the right methods to be able to assess skin, or were they left to guess at skin status? I want to make sure that dark skin tone patients in particular who die at this rate I talked about don't. That actually their skin gets measured in exactly the same way. Their biology is no different. But the measurement method fails them and it fails the nurses. We're building a safer world in which governments are no longer spending tens of billions of dollars treating an avoidable harm. We spend nearly $30 billion in this country every year on that. But rather, what I do is I spend my time in Washington, D.C., and I get the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to catch up with the science. The science is there. Policy is way out the back of the building. Catch up. We're building a safer world today in which when prevention actually happens, that we celebrate it. We don't ignore it. That's going to take a little while. So in the meantime, I want to give you a gift. And the gift is the knowledge which I've just given you, but then translating it into 2 questions for you. Question 1, if you have somebody that you know that you love or you is going into a health facility, ask of the caregiver, what are you going to do to protect my skin? And then what I'd like you to do is to not just leave it up to them, but rather take some self-direction and ask them, what should I be doing to protect the skin that I'm in? Let me say to you that this has been a long journey, but one of the things that's been running all the way through it very consistently is that when you change what people can see, you change what they do. And when you change what they do, you build a safer world. Thank you.